This training is part of Balkan interregional innovation ecosystem for maturing and mainstreaming innovative entrepreneurial ideas in agri-food sector. The main purpose of the module Entrepreneurship Awareness is to acquire the theoretical approach to entrepreneurship and build skills in this area. For many people, running their own business is a dream from childhood. In order to make this dream come true, it is worthwhile reaching for proven knowledge and to know what is behind the complex terms of business concepts. It's also worth noting that some people who want to own and operate their own business feel the need to do more than just make money and want to contribute in solving the problems that surround us. The definition of entrepreneur includes that entrepreneur is a person, a legal or organizational unit without legal personality who engages in a business activity while earning a living. The participation is called entrepreneurship. In other words, an entrepreneur risks money and time to start and manage their own business. Entrepreneurs play a central role important in society. As described by economist Joseph Schumpeter in 1930s, entrepreneurs act as a force for creative destruction, sweeping away established technologies, products, and way of doing business and replacing them with others that the marketplace as a whole sees as representing greater value. In this sense, entrepreneurs are agents of change and hopefully progress. The most important features of the company include six major things. First thing is doing business. This means that the establishment and management of the enterprise is the result of well thought out and rational decisions that are made by people with the right qualification and skills. The second important feature is sustainability. Business activities should be planned in a long term. They should be sustainable in time and bring profit. The third very important feature is decision autonomy. This is the one feature for the company of a major importance. Business decisions are characterized by independence, self determination, and market conditions. However, it should be clearly stated that these decisions are always limited by the legal norms in the society and in the countries of operations of the business. The fourth feature, action on your own behalf and self-employment, means that company operates at its own risks. Running a business involves making profit or loss, and the entrepreneur, is responsible himself or herself for all liabilities and financial results. The profit making nature of the business is the fifth feature, and it represents the fact that the owner, while incurring expenditure on an enterprise, expects tangible benefits from the invested money and capital. Frequently, it aims at maximizing the return on invested capital. The basic requirement for fulfilling these expectations is achieving profitability of the enterprise. The last but not least feature of doing business is responsibility. The owner is responsible for managing the company in a legal way. He bears all the legal responsibility and all the responsibility for the staff well being and for the product or services parameters that bring good to the society. Apart from the aforementioned features of the enterprise, challenges which may hinder the achievement of profit, attention should be also paid to other entities, groups of entities, and organizations operating in the business environment, which are called the stakeholders. Showing in this illustration here, you can see all the stakeholders of the enterprise that are represented by the shareholders of the enterprise, the employees, suppliers, customers, members of the local community, government bodies and representatives, the media that enterprise is using for managing and bringing messages to the audience, and there might be also some other stakeholders like some decision making groups and influencers of the business of the enterprise. Generally, stakeholders are all the people and organizations who stand to gain or lose by the actions undertaken by the particular enterprise and specifically the entrepreneur. It includes all groups and individuals who affect the company or can be affected by the decisions and operations of the enterprise. A person who decides to run a business is an entrepreneur. We know lots of people who are well recognized as icons of entrepreneurship, such as Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, Richard Branson, the owner and founder of Virgin Company, or Muhammad Yunus, the Grameen Bank founder and Nobel Prize winner. The last person is worth the attention because of the business model he's proposing about the entrepreneurship. So, if you are going to become an entrepreneur, you don't need to be rich. The more important is a good idea that you have and your determination and openness to others, including investors. Much of the success of the people with a head comes with to people with a head full of ideas. That is why if it is worth for the entrepreneur to spend some time and to analyze his or her own qualities, to evaluate them in order to be well aware of what they have in their hands and what is their great advantage at the moment of starting the business. So much of the characteristic of entrepreneurs that are recognized to be very important is readiness to change, decision to self-develop constantly, leadership qualities, very big motivation coming from internal intrinsic motivating factors, high self-esteem or at least stable self-esteem, willingness to take risk because as already mentioned, starting a business as entrepreneur, it is taking risk to invest some money in order to gain some profits, and determination to achieve your goals. It is also the grittiness to continue no matter what in your business initiative. That is why we offer you a table in which you should list the knowledge, the skills, and the competencies you have or want to have in your future as entrepreneur. Set strategic goals for yourself which can help you to improve your knowledge, skills, and competencies that you assess um, as rather poor. If you have to sum up here what is important about the entrepreneur, here are the major 3 points. Ideas are important element of the success of the entrepreneurs, but they're not sufficient. You also need to have your background as a knowledge, you need to have your internal motivation, and you need to possess the needed skills in order to move forward your idea from the stage of a good idea to a stage of execution and making profits out of your idea. Tests are available to measure your personal suitability for an entrepreneur life, but these tests should be used only as a primary evaluation. Then you need to continue further with your self-knowledge and building your knowledge and skills in order to achieve your goals. Uh, it is proven that entrepreneurship runs in families, so children of entrepreneurs, of people who are running business, have much greater chance to succeed. But it doesn't mean that if you are a person who doesn't have entrepreneurs in the family, you cannot succeed. Your personal qualities and your determination, and of course the proper evaluation and planning of the market needs and the needs of the customers and the society may be still a quite good prerequisites for your success. Starting an enterprise and taking it to the next level involves empowering yourself as well as those who work for you and with you. Through empowerment, your team will experience greater creativity and a free flow of ideas to help drive you forward toward your vision. Entrepreneurs who try to do everything themselves may quickly realize that they've become hammered into a situation of stagnation. The effective entrepreneurial leader allows employees to establish themselves in positions of responsibility, make mistakes, and learn and grow in the same time. So ask yourself these listed 8 questions here in order to be able to make an evaluation where you are, what do you possess as knowledge and skills, and what exactly you things you should look in your team and you should build in your team in order to create your future success together. Harvard Business School professor Michael J. Roberts has described 4 possible approaches to leading a startup faced with rapid growth. These 4 approaches are managing content, managing behaviors, managing results, and managing context. In the first approach, managing content, it is the most direct approach to getting things done. And in this approach, the entrepreneur manages and supervises directly those who do and what they are doing. It is the most effective approach that entrepreneur has the highest level of control on all the activities, all the staff results. But here, the success in this approach highly depends on the opportunity of the entrepreneur to make the right decisions. In managing behaviors approach, the manager specifies the behaviors that lead to success and codify them in policies, rules, procedures that the employees of the enterprise should follow. So, in this case, you don't supervise day to day work, but entrepreneur trains the staff how how to do the work, and this overgrowing enterprise works quite well, so because instead of trying to manage everything, the entrepreneur relies on policies, rules, and procedures that all the employees use in order to achieve results. This approach is most useful when employees are inexperienced and they need a clear direction and guiding in order to do their tasks successfully. The third approach, managing results, assumes that the entrepreneur will focus on the results and will leave the employees to fulfill the tasks in a manner that they know, and they will be able to choose their own way to make their everyday work. Results focused management saves time for the entrepreneur, and instead of specifying in detail what people should do in their jobs, they can decide by themselves, and the entrepreneur is concentrating on providing resources, training, and building schemes to raise the motivation of the staff who are expected to produce results. The last but not least is managing the contexts. context. Leaders who take a more context-based approach are focusing on results also, but they seek more broadly these results. They are focused on shaping the culture, values, and structure of the organization. These managers select employees, develop them, and rely on general communication to shape the context of the work. Resu- Results of the effective team resource management is the enterprise that meets the following parameters. The employees have enhanced quality of life. A high level of trust is built within the enterprise. Each employee has a strong sense of belonging to the organization. Uh, they are proud to belong to this enterprise. Of course, the performance has a very high effective parameters. The productivity is the highest possible levels, and as a result, we have uh, a long retention of the employees for their work in the enterprise. It's very important to mention that entrepreneurs should be quite should build quite high level of self-awareness, and to be should be quite alerted and flexible when they need exactly to make change in the management. So they should be alerted for the moment when employee initiative is decreased by the entrepreneur's insistence on controlling all activities and making all important decisions. The best employees eventually should live in frustration if they're controlled non-stop by the entrepreneur trying to manage all of the tasks and all of the steps in the work of the enterprise. The organization, when organization misses opportunities because start to miss opportunities because it can operate only at the pace of the entrepreneur. This is also wrong for the maximization of productivity and for reaching the high possible effect and profit. The scope of the enterprise is limited to the knowledge and vision of the founder. If you reach such a moment as an entrepreneur, you should change definitely something in the management of your enterprise, and you should give opportunity to your team members to give their best as ideas that can your business can benefit from. Managing your enterprise as an entrepreneur, you should do the six main activities. You should manage the strategical planning process. You should build an organization as a as membership of employees and all these organizational structures that are needed to be done in order everybody to know its own role. You should allocate resources. You should manage the human resources. You should coordinate and control all activities, and you should establish proper monitoring and evaluation processes in order to be able to monitor the performance of your institution. Strategic planning requires to determine decisions and actions that must be carried out for the fulfillment of your business goals. You should find the most appropriate methods and tools to achieve each objective you are setting for your enterprise. You should consider all the details such as the right time, the locations to start the activities, the required resources, what rules and roles must be set for the team members, what outcomes should be measured, and you should establish how to communicate the strategic plan to whom assign certain responsibilities and roles. Important part of strategic planning is a risk management planning. Business risk is the element of uncertainty that may affect the activity of your business or the process of a particular operation. There are two types of risks: internal risks and external risks. Examples of some potential internal and external risks involve, for example, following activities. You will sell only 80% of your products and services. A key supplier of raw materials goes bankrupt. One of the partners of the supply chain decides to stop working with you. Major customer is not paying to you. There are some legislation changes that occur on your market. The electricity supply is interrupted in your area for several days. You don't have employees qualified for one or more of your activities in your working process. You should prepare a table of all the risks, internal and external, evaluate the probability of these risks and list potential measures. This is called building a contingency planning for your risks. Another important activity that you should do as an entrepreneur is allocation of resources. There are several types of resources you will have: material resources, third party services as resources, financial resources, human resources, and informational resources. It is important to evaluate in advance the resources you need in the first year of work and to think about where to get them from. The estimate is made during the strategic planning process as well as the business planning process, and you should be adjusted as necessary throughout your working process. Adequate forecasting is crucial and it ensures business sustainability. Financial resources have a very specific place in your planning and forecasting, and you need to take into account that you need to prepare short term cash resources plan and also medium and long term resources planning as needed as investment, purchase of equipment, technology, transport, and etc. The need to coordinate activities in an enterprise comes from the fact that most times there are differences of opinions and available skills in the staff regarding how they achieve the objectives they have set as their job description. That is why we need an effective coordination tools, and some of them are having direct contact between the manager and the staff, having some written communication like email, memos as established procedures in the company, running meetings regular between the staff, and establishing working committees that periodically will meet and review all the issues and problems that team is facing. Control is another activity that you should establish as part of your strategic planning, and it is extremely important and linked to planning because this is the function that is going you are going as an entrepreneur to use, assessing how resources are spent in your enterprise and allowing you to take corrective actions when needed and plans more efficient use of resources for the future. Performance evaluation means assessing progress towards achieving your entrepreneur's goals and hitting or exceeding your profit targets. Once these goals in enterprise are met, we say that the business is successful. While doing your strategic plan as an entrepreneur, you should set up also your evaluation criteria. So, doing a table like shown here with a second column will give you the opportunity to evaluate every step of your strategic planning initiatives, whether and how they are done. Doing initially your strategic plan and doing and preparing your vision, mission, core values, setting your long term and short term goals, and developing initially measurements that you're going to use your performance criteria, listing all your risks, and as part of your strategy, resources required, implementation plan, and progress assessment. All of these steps during your strategic planning should, in certain moments like 6 months, 1 year, they should be evaluated how much of them you have achieved and how successfully you have done all the tasks that you have listed in your strategic plan. An economic moat is a competitive advantage that one company has over companies in the same industry. This term was coined by Warren Buffett, a renowned investor and executive at Berkshire Hathaway. The wider the moat you have, the larger and more sustainable the competitive advantages you have in your enterprise, and more successful entrepreneur you can be. Warner Buffett says that we can have different competitive advantages, or if we don't have, we should work to have some advantages in the following areas. First area is the cost advantage. We might be looking to have a cost benefits compared to our competitors. For example, establishing a business that is innovative and that is requiring less cost than standard products that our competitors are offering on the market. We should be aiming at having size advantages because the bigger the business, the more economy of scales we should be able to make in our processes of building products and services. A high switching cost advantage refers to having building such barriers in front of our competitors that our own customers won't be likely to switch to competitive products. Intangible benefits are in terms that we possess as entrepreneurs some assets like patents, some very high valuated brands that give these intangible benefits to our business. And such things like a soft mode means that we create such benefits for example, soft skills and soft things in our business, like very exceptional management we create, that our people, our employees, are retained forever in our business as workers and in our working process. They're so proud to work and happy to work with us that they don't want to change their company and their work.